Good evening. We have another great video for you. I'd like you to pay close attention to this one because this one is basically going to teach you carefully how to understand the arts and understand the energy behind the arts. We have to understand that this whole world is about energy, and when they deal with the human race, it's about conscious energy. And this energy take form in many different ways as we travel in the procession of the equinox. For billions and billions of years, we travel in this procession of the equinox, and it affects humanity in various ways. Some ways bad, and some ways very, very, very good. And we have to understand that. That way, when a teacher, initiate is teaching you, you could get a grasp on what time it is and what you could expect to occur in your very near future. The scripture have said, and we read it to you over and over again, that he, the Spirit of truth, shall come and teach you things to come. And we have to understand that anyone that is carrying this Spirit of truth must teach you past, present, and future. They must be able to teach you events to come. What's important is the events to come in your life, not somebody else's life, but in your life. That's what's very important. We'll go with that. Now, the name of this lecture is Procession of the Equinox and the Peoples. The procession of the equinox and the peoples. I added the peoples in there because what is mostly concerned in this lecture is how this procession of the equinox affect your life, how it improve your life, how it make your life better than what it is now, how it improve your mind, your mental state, your conscious mind, so you could see further than the average person would see things. And this is why it's important, so you'll know and you won't get upset at certain things when it's happening a certain way, and you ask God, I'm tired of this, won't you make this world better? And you will see how he is moving this world into its possession, to where it need to be at, into that better place. You happen to come on this earth when you're going to see some better things happen in your lifetime. And it's very important to see that. Now, the reason I say this procession of the equinox, what it's all about. Let's deal with what it's all about. I'm going to give an example. In this orbit, it reacts to our being, to our person, a lot like when, I don't really like to use it, but got to use it. When a woman is dealing with a cycle in the run of so many days, 30 days, 31 days, 30 days, there's certain things gonna occur. And I don't want to go into detail, women's already know what that's all about. It's the same thing in the procession of the equinox. Our planet and our sun is here. And it's approaching what we call the Bronze Age, which is a light age. You have three light ages. You have the Bronze Age, the Silver, and the Gold Age. They are known as light age. Behind that, we're leaving the Iron Age of the Dark Age. And we're leaving that time, the Dark Age. And this, what we do, we go in this cycle here, and we come all the way back, and right here is Noah time. Then we go right back into this dark age, and then we start all over again. Now, you won't be going back into this dark age unless you're one of the ones who did not have an immortal body through time. The only person gonna come back around, or gonna come back to the planet as a dark age, is these ones that had not attained immortality. But these ones from here, this Aquarian age, going forth, the Son of Man age, in this age, these individuals will begin to have immortal bodies. This is why in Genesis you hear the 6 days. And most people's not aware of that. They think it's actually 6 days where God created this and created that. He's trying to tell you something. It's levels of the sod there. And it takes 6 days to go from here, or 6,000 years to go from here to here, approximately 6,480 years. Yeah, 6,480 years. what we call the Satan self years, the time that the devil will rule. And this is what we're coming out of. We're coming out of this. So what you're going to see as we come out of this, you will see the quote saying, death, where's thy sting? Grave, where's thy victory? Death was swallowed up. And you have to understand that. You also see that this is the time where they talk about Michael fighting the dragon, Michael and his angels fighting the dragon, and the dragon kicked out of heaven, that there's no place for them. This is that age you're coming into. This is a science that you have to know. It's called esoteric science. You have to know this. You understand this in what we always use this term, the Hebrew typology. You need to understand this. And most people, they don't know how things work. They don't know the science of things. See, the ancient Egyptians and the Sumerians, but the ancient Egyptians, they knew the Mayans, and a lot of them knew these things, knew these arts, and they know how to build, engineer different things, clocks and other things, and knowledge that will bring that forth. Because at the time when they attained that knowledge, they wasn't in the dark age when they attained that knowledge. They was in the light age coming into this. So they attained that knowledge. And some of them had been in this gold age and all that knowledge that they had. Because when our planet is coming this way, Sirius is coming this way. Sirius is going to come this way and go back there. Our planet come this way and it go back there. Both of them move at the same speed. So when Sirius is down here, our planet and sun is here. When Sirius is over here, our planet and sun here. So when Sirius get back here, it goes back. And this is how it works. They don't want to teach you this knowledge because they want you to believe something that they say without the knowledge go behind what it's all about. This planet is made by the greatest scientist ever lived, God himself. He used mathematics in the formulation of this universe. And the ancient Egyptians found out that knowledge, and they was taught that knowledge because the ones before them brought that knowledge into their time, those fathers before them. And you hear the story in the Emerald Tablet that tell about thought and Atlantis, and a thought coming from this area here over to the Egyptian area and teaching them civilization. When they was teaching them civilization, in that higher civilization, it wasn't that people was not already over there. I'll tell you, they was already over there. So it wasn't somebody coming exploring or found your land. Thought they come and found no land. They already knew it was already over there. They went there and they taught these peoples to that higher civilization, that higher knowledge. And you have to see that these things happen all the time, from one end of the world to the other. And you have to understand this. So when you see the Esoteric at Alexander the Great time conquered Egypt, they learned the knowledge, the thought knowledge that had been passed down through the priests, the Egyptian priests. And they learned their sacred arts. And they learned how to understand how this universe worked. And they learned how to use that sacred knowledge against you and their own. And if you ever seen this and read some of the stuff that they did back during the time of Grant when they went and visited the pyramid, it's extraordinary to know what these people are doing. You sit there and think that these individuals, these cabinets are there just, they just sitting there and talking about this, talking about that. Yeah, they talking about that. They talking about some other stuff that you don't have no clue to. That's proof right here. Proof is in the pudding. Proof is in the pudding. They use the craft. They use the arts on you, a certain type. We call it the craft. We normally don't call it the art when it's used for various other reasons. We call it the craft, okay? They use the craft on you to keep you down so they could come up. And they knew that energy that's in that area of that pyramid and how to use it against another group of people. And they use it against that group of people that's from that bloodline of Egypt that is to rise. They used it against them, my people. And that's you. Because you didn't only live in Egypt, in that area of Africa, but you also lived on the American continent before the Esoteric came here as Hebrew Cherokees. And there's many explorers have talked about your presence here. Even Columbus talked about Africans living on the American continent, trading with West African coins when he came here. William Penn talked about these people that look dark-skinned, thick-lipped people with nappy hair, walking around like the Hebrews on the streets of London. See, there's many people talk about it, but you ain't gonna ever hear this in your books. And you need to know this knowledge so you can move on and know where you at and what is going on. Because God is finna elevate the different nations' throne. He's finna elevate it. He's gonna elevate Russia. He's gonna elevate China. He's gonna elevate even England in their own way. He's gonna elevate these nations. But these nations that have rule over other nations and keeping that throne from rising, God is gonna move them. He's gonna move them. Even when they don't want to, they're gonna be moved. That's why you hear right now people, Jamaica and Barbados and all these little island nations that was under the Queen want their sovereignty. They want to be their own state, their own nation. They don't want to be a sovereign under the Queen. They don't want to be like that. They want to be their own nation, their own place now. And they are screaming for reparation and all that. And so you got to see that. And that's happening all over the world right now. So you got to know that we're in that time where we're coming out of that dark age. And the true individuals, the true crowns, the true bloodline got to come back in place. They got to come back in their place. So we have to see all this to understand how this works. When you see Daniel talking about King Nebuchadnezzar's dream, and he talk about the head of gold, and he say, thou art the head of gold. It's not thou, you king, the head of gold. Thou art. The art is the head of gold. Thou, when you thou, sometimes you're talking about God. Thy Lord, thy this, thy. So the king have to understand the arts by the way Daniel explained it to him. And Daniel was explaining to the king that you can't take this after this dark age, after you come out what they call this iron age and go into the bronze age, the silver age, and the gold age, right here. This has to be broken off. Satan cannot carry that force over there. Satan is a god. He's one of the sons of God. He's a god. God created Satan. God means the devil. I'm sorry, the devil. Satan is created by the minds of man. The devil is created by God to do a certain work. And that devil was going to rule all from here. He ruled with warfare. He used warfare. When you see him talking about the seven seals, the first seal on the white horse, you see him with a sword. Coming out of Noah time. Sometimes we say Noah's sons or Noah environment. Coming out of that time. And at Noah time, people live up to about 1,000 years because they're finna show you that crossover. Then in the other time, they live 120 years. Now understand, if you got 120 years here, you got 120 years there. And you have to see that. And it went from 120 years, and then some say 70 to 80 years in here, and then back here to 120 years in here. And now we are to live 1,000 years, a time just like Noah lived here, as above, so below, as below, so above. We have to go into that 1,000-year reign. That's why I say we will reign with Christ for 1,000 years. To understand the scripture, you need to understand the arts. You cannot take this procession of the Equinox out of the equation of the Word of God. You have to understand that, because it's not only, it's told in mythology and story, but it's science as well. It's the working of the mind. When we get in this area right here, Sirius is here. That means Sirius illuminate 25.4 times greater than our sun. So what you got? Our sun is a life force. Sirius is a life force. That life force energy is going to bombard our sun and our planet more. So mankind going to have the mental and the physical capability of shifting from 120 years to 1,000 years. And then as it go on, come closer, even more for thousands of years. Your knowledge of inventions and technology and all this other stuff going to be so advanced, people will look, if you came from that far age into this, from this age, come back here, people will think you are God because they never seen stuff like that. You can even look at yourself right now. Where you at right now? You got a stereo set in your car, etc. You came and back here, somebody back at this time here, back 1,000 years ago, and they seen you riding in that car, they'll wonder what the heck is you. They'll hear that music and hear all that sound come out of that car. They'll think all them people's in that car. They'll be blown away. Or what you think the future behold when you get here? You get here. You have the technology to fly without a craft. At times, you have that technology to do things now. They got things right now, a jetpack where you're going to put it on your back and go places. What do you think the future going to behold when these vortex open up? And you could go from one vortex to the other, one place to the other, and all this other stuff, and no way they know how to utilize them, how to open them up. See, and people are not seeing how vast God's creation is, and we got to see that. And we're going to move on. But you have to see that this time of Satan, Set, what they call in Egyptian mythology, Set time is 6,480 years. What is that? That's 3 of the zodiacs. It's Taurus, Aries, and Pisces. In the area of the air sign area of Gemini and Aquarius and Libra, these are the ones right here that you live 1,000 years. So when you see them talk about caught up in the air, they talk about caught up in Aquarius. That's what they're talking about. In Aquarius. In the age of Aquarius. Caught up in Aquarius. And we have to understand that and move on. Now, this is very important to understand, and I'm going to just go back over there and break it down because some people, they see this on the board and don't understand how it works. You got to understand that this is our voyage, always on this planet. We've been traveling this way for millions of years. So when you hear God creating man in his image and his likeness, this is where it's shaping it back from coming out of this age. He's going to shape that back again here. You had immortal, you was immortal here, you're going to become immortal again. That's why I say in our image and our likeness. See, God is, and Melchizedek is immortal beings. And you have to go back to your immortality. So you'll go in this age here, people come back and forth to the planet. And when they get to that age there, and the ones that are born after from the pyramid knowledge, after at the time 1954 on, them ones have that God gene in them for that immortality. They have that time that Sirius is here, and they have that opportunity for that illuminated energy to come into their present so they can live longevity. And we have to understand this. This is Bible, my people. This is Bible. This is studying the Bible. Not just reading it, studying and knowing what it's really saying. Now, we're going to move on. Matthew 24:22. And except these days shall be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, these days shall be shortened. So what is he saying in Matthew? Now, when did this book come to you? This book came to you in around 1611. So the initiates wrote this book. So when they said that, when they quoted Matthew, normally we know that they tell you Jesus said what's in Matthew. Jesus never said anything in Matthew. The initiates say the things that you need to know that Jesus will tell you. That's what it's saying. The initiates are saying the things that you need to know that Jesus will tell you. And that's what you get. And what the initiates is telling you is that except these days be short. In other words, you cannot go beyond here. So you was in this area in around 1611. These days have to be shortened because you can't. Now, as parts of the other procession of the equinox, as part of the number of stars, could be shown more clearly. But since I'm an initiate, I'm showing you in the procession of the equinox, these have to be shortened because you cannot you cannot keep people from living just 120 years. They got to reach that other level. They got to come into immortality. So this time has to be cut short. That knowledge, that energy coming there is not going to let this dark age and this death age and this killing and war and all that pursue or go any further. So it has to be cut short. From 1611 to now, this got to be cut short. This age, this dark age of this iron age. And we have to understand that. Now, it's saying also, Psalm 89:17, for thou art the glory of their strength. For thou art, that means God's art. For thou art the glory of their strength. See, for you to understand what the Bible is really saying, you got to have all of the arts that's necessary to get you to that level of consciousness that you can see what God is doing. God, the Almighty, made this planet, made this world, made this universe. And God don't have to be here for his work to continue. God don't have to be in your presence when you see him like you see me. You don't have to do that. God have already put this machine in motion. He have put this in motion. He created everything. He created thought. He created the devil. He created the angels. He created everything. So he have put his creation in motion, and his creation step to the step of God, what God had done planned. And it's not going to deviate. Not for me, you, and nobody else. It's not going to deviate. So if you think you could rule a nation inside that you're going to let who you want to be in certain land mass as emperors or kings or whatever. If you think you have that right, you better go back and read King Nebuchadnezzar and what Daniel said to King Nebuchadnezzar. See, God already got it planned. Where certain locations going to have certain family bloodlines dominating those locations. And nothing could do to stop that. You cannot stop this because it's too big. It's too big for your mind and your consciousness. And a lot of times I tell my audience that the Nijis are we going to be able to dominate a certain landmass in the United States at a certain time. And don't get me wrong, I know it's hard for you to understand that. It ain't that I don't recognize how hard it is for you to understand that, but I know a truth. So I have to keep telling you of that truth and keep telling you. So through the time that you listen to this lecture, you begin to grasp it. And through visualization and through remote viewing, if you could tap into that, God will start showing you more of what I'm saying. You'll see more of the future. You don't have to ask what I'm saying. Just ask God to show you the future of your lifetime, the future of what's going to be presented in your lifetime. And he can show you these things. It's for you to have that. But you can't have it unless you ask for it. And that's what I'm saying while I'm teaching you the way I teach you. Psalm 89:17, for thou art the glory of their strength, and in thy favor, listen to what it's saying now, in thy favor, our horn shall be exalted. Now, where you see that word horn from? What horn mean? When you see the prodigal son, you say he went in the house and they were playing music and dancing. What he's saying is that your joy, your victory, your accomplishments, all of the above, when they're dealing with that, will be exalted. And you have to see that. How he said in the story of Jacob, and then he came to Israel. He was showing you that. And that's the type of person you become. And we got to understand that and see this more and more, because God is moving now and he wants you to understand something. Something I said last week, I want to say that when I was talking about was last week, I was talking about the population in America. America population, when it comes to the world population, is only 4.2% of the peoples of the whole world, a very small population, and yet they help dominate the vast world for a period of time, going with Britain and France. And we have to see this. So when you're talking about a powerful nation like that, and you're talking about the possession of the Equinox, and you saying that God is going to give you this land mass, that God is going to do this, God is going to make these people from nowhere, some of the ones that are attached to the organization, from nowhere to millionaires. And them ones that are millionaires that backing this organization with legitimate amount of funds and not just penny winning with them. And God going to move from millionaires to billionaires. And God is going to elevate his people, that some of them going to be vanguards. Some of them going to hold royal positions and power in this land, in their lifetime. And I'm saying that because I believe that the Bible, the initiates wrote truth in the Bible, and the Bible is showing me what to show the mass of the people, so they can know what's happening in the time of this procession of the Equinox that deal with their life, their lifetime. And we have to see that. And we have to understand that. That's why he sent an initiate, a ascending master. I don't like to use that word descending. A ascending master. One that is to come down and help you get to that place where you're supposed to be. Because he have to be at that place where we supposed to be. And you have to see that. Yeah. We're going to deal with this Psalm 89, trying thought priesthood. We got to understand thought priesthood. And I use it T-H-O-T this time, like they had that, and you change it, that, move that A to the O where it's supposed to be, because you'll see it when you see him talking to Moses, and he'll say, I am, thought I am, and they got it as though I am, that I am. They have an A there, but they have it capitalized and not an O. And in understanding allograms, understanding in the Hebrew typology, you put it where it's supposed to be, and it's I am, thought I am, who is thought. He was talking to Moses, and before he was talking to Moses, he was talking to Abraham, and who was talking to Abraham? Melchizedek. And who is Melchizedek? Melchizedek and thought is the same person. And you have to understand this stuff. So I'm not bringing you something that's way out from anything. It's bringing you to a broader knowledge of who these characters are. You may see him have one name here. You may have him have another name there, but they are the same character. You may hear them at the Renaissance time talk about the Hermes. It's the same character, same person as Melchizedek. He brings knowledge, understanding, and you have to have that in order to move a civilization ahead. And that's how at the time when the Europeans came out of the Dark Age, they had a bit of a golden age at one time after that Dark Age. And what was they learning? They were learning the Hermetic principles. What is the Hermetic principle? The thought knowledge. Europeans put this. You got to see this. I want you to understand what's going on. This book, when it first was published, it had pictures on it and stuff like this. Okay, the original one. At the very top on the original one, it had Hebrew writings in it. This book, although we call it a Christian book, this book is a Christian book, but it's a book that's been presented by the Hebrews. Okay, the Hebrews. From Genesis to Revelation, it has been presented by the Hebrew initiates. These individuals understood the arts, understood the craft. And when King James had them to compile the books of the epistles, etc., there was many, 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 many. They broke it down so they could give you the bird's eye view of what you're supposed to have now, what you're supposed to know now, and what fit with this land we call Turtle Island. In the Bible it's called Earth. We call it now North America. These things you must understand, because in this book, they hid it. They hid the understanding. That's why you've been told the Bible is in code. They hid that true understanding because they didn't want anyone to know but the aristocrats and the initiates. So a regular person who's uneducated to the knowledge of the craft, uneducated to the knowledge of the arts, will never understand this book unless God teach you what it's all about. And when God teach you what it's all about, he will teach you the arts and the craft. So you'll know what it's about. You cannot teach out of this book properly unless you understand that, my people. And I know how we've been brought up. We've been brought up in that way. Taught from the preacher in the pulpit, and someone went to certain Yale and Harvard and Princeton and regular Bible study school, local Bible colleges and all this. And they learned the Bible literally. They learned Paul, they learned Judah, they learned David, they learned Ishmael, they learned about Isaac and Jacob. They learned about all these people. Jesus, as they see Jesus in the Bible, they learned all this stuff and they compiled it and they read it how it was, and they put that thought of how to take that story and make that story sound good to you, and they polish it the best they could and they presented it to you. And someone preached it to you and they had that rhythm and that sound with them instruments, and it made a lot of individuals exciting, but it never delivered you. And the reason it could not deliver you, because you were not dealing with the truth. The scriptures say he will deceive the very elect if it was possible. So the devil have deceived a lot of people. A lot of people. But you got to understand, God's mercy have always been there for you, because God knew that this time was going to be in existence in your life, and God had to let the storm, weather the storm with it, and move you on. That's how it happens in this procession of the equinox. He let you move on. Someone come to the planet, grandma, great-grandmama come to the planet, they die and go on. Granddaddy come, die and go on. Some husband, the wife come, die and go on. Some brothers and sisters come, die and go on. It have to keep on moving. But they're not lost. They're not lost. They're absent from the body, present with the Lord. But they do not have that immortality, that God body that he wants you to have yet. So they have to prepare themselves to come back to this planet at another time. But you are here. You are here. And immortality is sitting at the door waiting for you to grab it and understand what it's all about. A nation that God wants to build here with you, so you can live in that nation. You can prosper in that nation. You could be able to eat the proper things in that nation. You could be able to walk around and without fear in that nation. You'll be able to be a real person in that nation. So God could let you vibrate to that highest level of consciousness, that miraculously the cells in your body will renew themselves in a tremendous way as Syria is shining that illuminating light toward your planet. Thus you will live 1,000 years. And as you move on, you'll live even longer. And that's what's up. That's why the scriptures say, for we will reign with Christ for 1,000 years. That's what it's talking about. And you have to know that. Now, we're going to talk about our peoples. Marcia Gordon, the Neophyte Incorporated, Leon James, Amelia Sinclair, Tamira C. Fennell, Clara Woods, Lord Hill, Wesley Cedars, Marvin Creek, and Jeremiah Brown. And we want to let you see that these are individuals that a few other many that we have put on the board for you to understand what's going on.